This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 951, recorded on November 15th, 2023. Should science monkey around? Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we are going to fill your heads with monkeys, sperm, and seawater. But first, thanks to our amazing Patreon sponsors for their generous support of TWIS. You can become a part of the Patreon community at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer! How many of us mailed our cereal box tops and hard-earned allowances to places unknown in order to stare at a small plastic aquarium of sorts in the hopes that we would be the first to observe sea monkeys in all their undersea glory, only to be underwhelmed at the sight of brine shrimp undulated in the fetid water before us? Or were you of the sort who thrilled at the sight of anything at all? How did these beings appear? What were they really? Who am I to scorn the magic of life? As media tempts and taunts us with promises of amazing, sensational sorts, there is a lesson here that we can all be skeptics and yet maintain our ability to be amazed. It is a lesson that we take seriously here on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of This Week in Science. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode. There's a great show in the making right now. I am joined by the lovely, the inimitable Natalia Reagan. Oh my goodness.
Hello, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening. We are doing all right on the show tonight. I mean, it's just you and me, right? We're gonna...
Oh, just two broads talking science. I'm all about it, you know.
We're gonna science the heck out of it. Here we go.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody is not counting, I'd love to find out how many different accents we engage in throughout the show tonight.
That's a damn good idea, Kiki. I sign on.
I mean, it could be something that we should really think about for a second. Okay,
Oh my
I have
God.
stories. Stories tonight. On this week's show, I'm a serious newscaster. Natalia, come on. I have news stories about sperm counts, monkey melds, seawater samples, sick social finches. My sibilance is out of control. CRISPR and cholesterol, avoiding alcohol, and, well, you. Oh my gosh. Primatologist, anthropologist, comedian, self-described weirdo.
I mean, guilty. Yeah. And you just listed all my favorite things. You got monkeys, you got sperm counts, cholesterol, CRISPR, you sea monkeys. You know, I did
So many sea monkeys.
some field work on the beach. I was looking for sea monkeys, which you could make a little tiny shrimp scampi out of those brine shrimp.
That
Not
would be
really.
very tight. I mean, maybe you could dry them out after they've hatched from the eggs and then sprinkle them on top of the scampi. Just a little spoonful.
Yeah.
Brine shrimp
You
flakes.
just don't knock it till you kind of try it.
Yeah. I
Mm.
wonder if any little kids have ever... Anyway, this is getting... Everyone, we are so excited to have you here tonight. And as we jump into the show, I want to remind our people out there that you can subscribe to this program. We are a live streaming web program, Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m. Pacific time-ish, on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. And the podcast is published all good places that podcasts are found. So look for This Week in Science, all the places you like to find your podcast, subscribe, share with friends. And if you need to know things that you've forgotten since I started this little dialogue, just go to twis.org. It's our website. Look for This Week in Science. Ready to jump in, Natalia?
Oh, yes. I was born Yeti. Let's do it.
Yes. Okay, we're gonna start. I've thrown in a bunch of stories tonight, with Natalia in mind, and we'll see where we take these things. First off the dock tonight, chimeric Chinese monkeys born, and there was one monkey was born. Not a lot of them made it through this little experiment, but researchers have been trying to create chimeric organisms. Those are organisms that have multiple origins, parental origins. There's lots of cellular DNA from multiple individuals within each cell of the body. And any one cell could potentially have mommy daddy DNA, or it could have mommy DNA, or mommy daddy DNA, or anyway, it could be a mixture. And historical efforts in chimeric monkey work have resulted in maybe 1% or definitely less than 10% chimerism in the embryos that have resulted. In this particular study that was just published in Cell, the researchers highlight this is the title of the paper, Live Birth of Chimeric Monkey with High Contribution from Embryonic Stem Cells. So, what did they do in this study? What was happening? Why is this important now? The researchers have taken the monkey parental cells, created a blastocyst. So they created little IVF baby monkeys, created a blastocyst in a dish, and then they took additional cells from another individual and added them to the blastocyst that was in the dish. And in adding these cells to the blastocyst, they resulted in a lot of non-viable embryos. And one of the embryos that made it out of the dish state was implanted into an adult mother monkey to gestate the embryo. One little embryo resulted. This little monkey embryo turned out to be very successful in terms of the chimerism. So up to 90% of some tissues were chimeric in nature. So they contained a lot of the DNA from the other additional individual that was added to the cells. And so they're excited about this, but it was like a really like 1 out of 10 success rate for the number of embryos that they created. The other ones did not work. And now I think it's a question of them trying to figure out what happened that was super successful with this one particular embryonic method, why it worked so well, versus the other ones. All that to say that this little embryonic, the monkey that resulted, that was birthed, it only lived 10 days. So itself, it was not a viable offspring. It didn't last very long. So it's still not, it's not going to work really well for like, we're going to make little embryonic chimers of all sorts of cells from all over the place. We're not at that state at this point in time. It's not a viable, successful method, but the fact that they had this one success that was limited in its success, it is pushing them to move forward to see, their idea is, can we create animal chimers moving forward that have synthetic DNA or gene-edited chromosomes in order to study disease or study particular, instead of, having knockout mice or whatever, can we create non-human primate chimers with tissues that are not human, but maybe partially human, so we can study some aspects of how different developmental or disease states occur in these situations. What do you think?
Oh man, it's fascinating, and I'm very. My big question is why, and if they really do think they could do some really, I guess, good research that's going to benefit, thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people potentially, then maybe it is worth it. But again, the cost is a lot of monkeys are dying. A lot of them aren't going to survive. And also some of the I don't know. I just feel like the ethical problems are pretty big here. And we saw it sometimes with cloning too, when you had people cloning their dog. I did a podcast years ago when Barbara Streisand decided to clone her dog. And a lot of the clones don't live very long. I don't know how long Barbara Streisand's dogs live for. I feel like Babs would take such good care of her clone, but still, but it's never going to be the same. Right. So I don't know. It's fascinating. And it was funny. I did a show with somebody last week, and we were taking questions from males about dating. And there was a thing going around on the internet that anytime a woman had sex with a man, they would absorb if they did not use a condom, they would absorb the male sperm. And there was that male micro chimerism. And that I had to explain that it was not necessarily because, they were absorbing sperm. It doesn't work that way. Like this, because they found, the DNA in the brain. I could see like the buddy road comedy where, the road trip comedy where the two sperms are like in a car and like moving right along and just like taking the road trip up to the brain. But it was about more if the woman had a male fetus inside of her, or if perhaps her mother was pregnant and there was a male twin, or there could be a myriad of reasons, but it had nothing to do with the men that someone slept with. But again, I think it's a fascinating idea that there is DNA inside of us that might not necessarily be from our mother and our father.
I mean, I think that's that's a really interesting point to make, though, is that the way that our bodies work and the way that the reproductive system specifically works is so interesting in that extent, especially for women who have a uterus where cells can gestate and, like you said, sometimes not make it all the way, be reabsorbed, or maybe there's a twin, or maybe, there are things that occur that are odd. And then suddenly you've got different DNA in you. But you're fine. Our bodies go, okay, let's work with this.
You're stuck with your kids for your whole entire life, down to the cellular level. Damn it, Kiki. What do you think? What do you think about the ethical implications of this? I mean, do you think it's a good idea? Where do you stand?
I'm kind of torn on this one. The extent that they are moving in this direction, I understand wanting to understand more about human development and human genetics and how things work together, and not necessarily being able to study that in humans, because there's, even further ethical issues that go into, okay, we're going to, you can't have people get pregnant and then study their babies for science. This is not the way it works, because hopefully we have better ethics now. But at the same time, I'm looking at this and primates, and stop me if I'm wrong, but there are so many commonalities, which is why we're studying them as models of human genetics and human development and disease. But there's so many other commonalities that is just, how is it ethically right to be able to push this forward when we have organoids that we can, cell systems that we can study in dishes, that there are other ways that we can look at this.
No, I agree. And as somebody who studies primates, I love them, of course. But I also try to temper that love with also rationalism and could there be a benefit here? But I also think that, if there is an alternative, why not focus on that alternative first? And for instance, like macaques are the second most widely distributed primate on Earth. There's generally no shortage of macaques on this planet. People talk about Planet of the Apes, and I always say, no. It's going to be macaque attack, 110%. But I believe
I want to see that movie.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh, I feel like I've lived that. I volunteered in an animal sanctuary with a macaque that I love her dearly, but when she comes out, I run the other way because, they're intense.
Yeah,
but
scary.
But I think Macaca follicularis is I believe they were put on IUCN as like a threatened, not quite. They're not endangered. There's still a lot of them, right? But I believe something that I don't think they're doing it on endangered monkeys at this point. But like again, we are moving into a time when we're causing the sixth mass extinction. Maybe we should be moving away from, doing experiments on animals that are vulnerable.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I mean, and especially if we're only really maintaining them so that we can have them as laboratory populations. What's up with that?
Yeah. Sorry. Look, I like the human side of science, man. You know,
Yeah.
You gotta maintain your humanity.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, this study, hopefully it will give these researchers information moving forward so that they lose fewer embryos, so that there is more success. But at the same time, what is the value of what we learn versus the ethics of working with the animals in the first place?
Yeah, and what if that monkey does live past 10 days?
Right.
Then what?
Right? Yes. I mean, everybody was all upset about the girls that were gene edited in China. We don't know what happened to them. They disappeared very quickly. The human embryos that were gene edited several years back. They're little toddlers by now, probably almost in kindergarten. But, we have no idea, what is their quality of life? Now they are protected. Now their lab, they're probably being studied themselves. I mean, it's just such a, this whole thing is a very interesting
dystopian
road. Right. Ooh. What's the road that we're going down here? I don't know. Speaking of gene editing, researchers have recently not studied in monkeys what they did before, but now because of work that was done in monkeys, they were able to study it in humans. Researchers just presented their work in the last week. It's a study related to a study published in the journal Circulation earlier this year, but they were at a conference this last week and presented their work on using CRISPR base editing to edit a hereditary form of high cholesterol. So there's a gene that leads people, they're born naturally, have high cholesterol, have heart problems, can result in a lot of health issues from that. They took 10 people into their trial that was, like I said, based on monkeys previously, mice, monkeys, and now humans. They edited a gene in the liver, and this particular gene, so it's located to a specific tissue. It's not throughout the body. This is CRISPR base editing as opposed to gene editing. So instead of cutting out a whole gene and replacing it, they've just gone in and shifted one little tiny base pair inside of that gene. They shifted one thing from like an A to a C or A to a G. So it turns this gene that's called PCSK9 off. And when that gets turned off, LDL cholesterol is controlled better. Anyway, in their trial, they found that these people who have familial hypercholesterolemia, that out of the 10 of them, there were a couple who had significant reductions in their cholesterol levels. And this has been ongoing long enough for them to want to talk about it. So there was a control group. Nobody had any issues related to health. So this is like the first trial of human trials. There's like no health issues. There's no negative side effects as far as anybody has been able to tell. And at this point, they're just checking to make sure it's safe. Is it gonna hurt people?
Yeah. That's always the next step. Yeah. I mean, again, it's this idea of accidentally shutting something off or on, it's kind of like when you play God, you really do run the risk of making some unintentional changes as well, but you might not find out until, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years down the line, but it sounds good so far. You know?
So that's something that they don't know. I mean, if you're just changing this gene in the liver, hypothetically, there's really no reason that this should change anything related to offspring. This should not be changing anything related to reproduction, shouldn't be changing the germ cells that go on to create other human beings. So this would not be a hereditary gene change that's happening. This is just a treatment for individuals. The next question is whether or not there's an increase in cancer risk, whether there are off-target edits that lead to these other issues that we don't know about. So now we're just looking, but it's very exciting. apparently it was a very successful early test. The 2 patients who got it was dose related. So the highest dose saw a 55% decrease in LDL cholesterol, and the next highest dosages saw 39 and 48%. But these are individuals. 10 individuals, half of them were control and half of them were test. So this is such a small sample size, we can make no inferences really at all.
We're going to need a bigger sample size, Kiki. Yeah, it is. It's small, right? Oh, gosh, darn it. Yeah. And also one of the things that the article mentioned was just they wanted to see if this could be passed down to offspring, if this gene edit, which I thought was interesting that they even, okay, if that's what they're considering could be a potential response, that would be fascinating.
Right?
Yeah, really fascinating. Yeah. Except,
I mean, you have a targeted tissue, you have your targeted system, but it's biology. It's messy.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And the question is, even if it doesn't do any of these things for 99% of the people, maybe there's 1% that their biology is just a little bit different that it does. So these are all the questions that until there's a much larger group of people willing to undergo the treatment, or I don't know,
Maybe somebody, yeah.
Yeah, one-time treatment versus cholesterol and heart medication every day for the rest of your life. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's one of the things that I have a friend that he does not have, he doesn't have a genetic predisposition to high cholesterol, but he actually was about to do a movie and they would not insure him because his blood pressure was so high, and his wife happened to be vegan. And so he tried a vegan diet just because he was like, well, shoot.
Why not?
I just try this. And he's, his name's MC Gainey. You've probably seen him in a bunch of stuff, and he's one of the sweetest guys. But I was just like, because he's very gruff. I was like, a sweetheart, but gruff. And I was like, you're a vegan? And he's like, yeah, saved my life.
Helps. Wow.
So, yeah. 3 months later, his doctor was like, you can stop. Not only is your blood pressure down, you can stop taking your meds. But there are those people that don't have that option because they're just, again, it's a genetic thing that they're just going to have high blood pressure forever. So that's an option. But who knows? It might make somebody spontaneously combust. I don't know. The jury is still out.
Highly unlikely, but possible.
Just throwing it out there.
Just possibilities. I don't know.
I don't know, but it's a good way to go, right? In the scheme of things, like, it's
very fast, super hot.
Yeah, super hot, and great biopic. I would watch that.
And then they burned.
Then they exploded.
That's it. Okay. Not explosions, but seawater is my next story to talk to you about. We love seawater. This is where, I don't know, where the sea monkeys and the brine shrimp love to be. No, researchers at the Max Planck Institute for Marine Biology in Bremen have just published in ISME Communications with their collaborators their work on looking at horizontal gene transfer in organisms. And this is like the most fascinating thing to me. We've talked about horizontal gene transfer before. It's this idea that little microbes, they don't really care where their DNA comes from. And they're like, oh, it's like I could take a pack of cards. You want one? Pick one. Okay, take one. Yes. Or they're like, I'm going to barf my DNA everywhere and then someone will pick it up and that'll be awesome. And so it's just like really exciting microbe DNA soup down there. And when you think about going in the ocean and traipsing about in those beautiful waves, just think about the number of millions of microbes, little viruses, bacteria, other things that are swimming around in just a single drop of seawater. And that whole sea out there is full of these little things. These researchers determined that this is the first time they've determined this as well. They went and they looked at the seawater and they're like, we expect to see viruses, things related to viruses and microbes and all their DNA. And this is what we're going to see. And then they were like, there's a bunch of junk in here that we're not expecting. And like, what's happening here? And what they've determined is that this junk that they didn't expect to be seeing is from extracellular vesicles. Extracellular vesicles have become more commonly talked about in human biology, the fact that neurons and microglia can sometimes communicate using these little packets, little membrane-bound packets of DNA or proteins or nucleids or, just little bits of information. And they can go and merge with another cell. They blurp out, and then they float around little balloons, little water balloons of DNA or whatever. And then they blurp and they grow into another cell, and the cell goes, yay! And if it's a microbe, it goes, I really like your DNA. I'm going to try that on for size. And yes, and suddenly they're sharing, and it's wonderful. But this is, to me, just extremely thrilling. The idea that it's not just during replication that these bacteria might be sharing their DNA, but there are these little packages of information that they're constantly sending around. Why they're sending them around, we have no idea. But these extracellular vacuoles full of DNA are allowing horizontal gene transfer. All this is just floating around in the ocean. This information, it's a sea full of information out there. I know. But I'm very excited about this.
Oh, yeah. I read this and I was really fascinated because, first of all, I think it's like a crime scene's worst nightmare. You know what I mean? It's just like, I don't know where my DNA is right now. Like, my DNA could be anywhere.
It could be in that guy. It could be in that guy.
It's contaminating. Yeah. I mean, it's dear Lord. But on top of that, just the idea of looking at, sometimes I'll take, samples of fresh water, seawater, and look at the DNA in it, like an environmental DNA sample. I know that they were trying to do that. I've hosted a Bigfoot show years ago, like one does. And I've
as
done
you
a lot
do.
As you do, but I've done a lot of like cryptid stuff since then. And that's one of the things they talk about with like Loch Ness, especially like, oh, we're going to just take a, environmental sample, like take a sample of Loch Ness water. But it's like, in that case, you don't know exactly where this, I mean, in a lake, contained in one place, you probably have a certain amount, or, well, I don't know, who knows? If someone takes a dip in that lake, maybe they're taking a little snip off your little sample off you. Who knows?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I mean, we're constantly sloughing dead cells out into the environment, but those are dead cells, so they should not have active DNA. But what information is still just information, just begging to be picked up. But yeah,
hair.
I mean, I think this, right? Hair, skin, all of it.
Saliva. I've coughed up a lot of seawater before. I'm just gonna, I've got wiped out before. And
did you absorb it?
Probably. I don't know how many. You know what I am? I'm filled with 550 million sea monkeys. That's what I am. I'm just a bunch of brine shrimp. I'm a bunch of brine shrimp in a trench coat. That's what I am, Kiki.
Brine shrimp in a flesh suit. Yes. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Dear Lord.
Well, anyway, these researchers have now determined that because of this really interesting discovery related to extracellular DNA, that researchers should now not just talk about extracellular DNA, but when they're looking at environmental DNA specifically, they should be also looking for this protected extracellular DNA, and they are calling it by a new name, PEDNA. It's a new name for the category that they are putting forward so that people in the research scene will be using the same terminology. So it's not just non-virus-like particles, but actually its own entire category of material that has its own uses biologically and environmentally.
This is so cool. Oh man, I just like the idea. I mean, this is a cartoon I want to watch. I would absolutely watch this. This is, I mean, like extra cell, like get real down to the, micro level of SpongeBob. That's what I want to see.
SpongeBob at the extracellular DNA level. Oh my gosh. He's breathing it in and the sun breathing it out. And, suddenly his friend is swimming in the SpongeBob DNA. Oh my gosh. Very nice. we're swimming in all sorts of things. We don't like to think about it. And we're learning more and more about all the stuff that affect us. We think, oh, but I just breathe air. It's great, whatever. But, there are all sorts of things in our environment that we're finding out are not so great for us. This last week, researchers dropped this incredible study in the Journal of Environmental Health Perspectives. It analyzed 25 studies conducted over the last 25 years. Really robust meta-analysis of the field of understanding how insecticides impact male sperm count. And the news is not great, gentlemen. The more insecticide that you are in contact with, the worse it's bad. The worse it's bad? What am I think? I can't even speak anymore. The worse it is for your little swimmers.
We're talking a lot of sea tonight. We've got seamen, we've got sea water, we've got sea monkeys.
Seamen.
I mean, we're just covering. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to be classy, but I'm really I'm failing miserably.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. The researchers looked at a whole bunch of studies and threw a whole bunch of studies out because they were biased or they had poor sample sizes. They didn't control for things well, but the pooled effect estimate remained negative across all the meta-analyses that the different kinds of insecticides, specifically organophosphates and N-methylcarbamates, reduce sperm concentration. And so this is not still causal. Nobody's ever done a prospective study on this going, hey, men, go out and spend time with insecticides and we'll see what happens. It's more retrospective where they go, oh, how much time did you spend there? And then they find out that they spent a lot of time or a little time. And then they count things. Part of it also is looking at the not just numbers, but the quality of the sperm. So quality of sperm, which is really important. Numbers are not always what counts. It's also how strong those sperm can swim.
How many tails? How many heads? Are they swimming in circles?
Yeah.
Look, I study primates. We talk about chimpanzee sperm quality compared to human male sperm quality. And no offense to the males listening or watching, that human males don't have the best sperm quality, or humans with testicles do not have the best sperm quality. Yeah. Compared to, say, other non-human primates like chimpanzees, where you've got a lot of male-male competition. And I'm going to slowly back out of my primatologist mode.
Why would you do that?
Okay, fine.
Don't back down.
Let me talk about sperm. No, but
Yes.
it is fascinating, and the things that can affect and how long term this can last.
Yeah. I mean, and the one thing that we do know is like this, what they've seen so far is like a lot of these studies were like single counts of individuals. So this wasn't looking at a single individual over time. So part of this also is not understanding what kind of benefits come from reduced interaction with insecticides. Yeah. So does it get better? Because sperm are not created like eggs. They are constantly produced over a man's lifetime. And so environmental changes can impact the quality of the sperm. All right. And that brings us to my first story of the show, which comes out of a case study led by Southern Illinois University from Illinois. Yes. These researchers published in the International Journal of Paleopathology. What do they do in paleopathology, Natalia?
They study old diseases, Kiki.
Yes, they do. So,
really old stuff.
In this particular case, they were looking at really old ovaries. These researchers were looking at mummies from Egypt and found one of the oldest examples of teeth in an ovary, which is what we would call a teratoma because it's technically cancerous because it's growing in the wrong place at the wrong time. This teratoma is identified as an ovarian teratoma. The young woman was an 18 to 21-year-old who was not elite, but it was kind of upper class. It was a more adorned, non-elite burial in a place called Amarna in Egypt. And this is one of the fifth case ever determined in the archaeological record, and the only one reported from Pharaonic Egypt or Africa. This is from the mid 14th century BCE. And very likely it's possible that the young woman died from the condition or issues related to the condition, but there's no way of knowing whether that's the case or whether it was something else that led to her death. But they don't believe that she would have known that she had teeth in her ovary at that time.
The molar of this story, Kiki. Oh my God. We're on the cusp of greatness. No, I know, I'm sorry. Let me get to the root.
Chew on that one for a little
bit. Oh my God. Okay. Let me get to the root of the issue. So we've got anytime I hear stories about this, I had a friend recently that actually had an ovary removed that, is similar. I can't remember the exact name of the cyst. It's like a teratoma where it does grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that can grow hair and teeth. And it's the stuff of nightmares, right? But at the same time, it's not that rare, right? These things happen. And but you just don't want it to happen to you.
Exactly.
If I may be so bold.
Yeah. I mean, in the olden days, if there's an issue in the pelvic cavity or something like, and somebody could see inside of you at any point and they saw teeth or hair or other, like, people would be like, you're a witch.
You're a witch.
The superstitions would come in. It wasn't scientifically
She's a witch.
informed.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, that's what they were saying.
She's not a witch.
She turned me into a newt. Yeah, so if you did a necropsy, if they actually did find it, yeah, unfortunately, if she's already dead, so, she can't even defend herself for being a witch. It's really messed up. And this is why, again, women really do get the short end of the old gender stick. Yeah, but and also what I think about too when I hear stories like this is the amount of pain that people have dealt with. I know that there was homeopathic remedies, but just how many times do we pop an Advil or two and be like, oh, I just have this headache. People were dealing with major infections and, tumors and all sorts of.
A lot of the things that we deal with
ailments.
Today, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have this.
Would kill us.
Yeah. Exactly. Here, chew on this willow bark. You'll be fine. It's great.
I have had so many root canals because I got hit by a truck when I was 25. Again, like you do. You get hit by a truck when you're 25. It's just what happens. But I landed on my head.
Amazing.
Thank you. I did land on my head, which explains a lot, but I cracked teeth. And so I've had about 14 root canals and I would be dead. I would straight up be dead. I would have abscess, tooth one after, well, first of all, I definitely would have been hit by a truck if I lived in ancient days, but still.
Probably not. Yeah.
No. This is wild. This is absolutely wild.
The image I've put up on the screen just now. Yes. So I've shared, for those on the podcast listening later, I've shared an image of a teratoma in the tissues around the uterus, near the ovaries. And it's really in the image, they've just put like big blurpy things that kind of look like molars within the uterus.
They do. They look like
the uterine
big
walls.
Popcorn, like buttered popcorn. Really, to be honest.
Coated.
Yes,
got stuck in my teeth. Need some floss. Oh dear. Yeah, I mean, it's just. I think your point is well taken. That now, where once upon a time in Egypt, this young woman may have died from infections related to this condition. Today, if it can be picked up, people can have surgeries that can help them so that it doesn't impact their lives moving forward.
Yeah.
So we are very lucky to be where we are and when we are.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, teeth were growing in ovaries like 4,000 years ago. 6,000 years ago. 14. Yeah. Long time ago.
Right. Dear Lord.
The dawn
Was there
of
a tooth
man.
fairy? What happens when you lose a tooth? I'm sorry. I'm going to go now. I'm a terrible human, and it's been a long day.
Oh my gosh. What was it? There was another, somebody made a joke recently about like a reverse tooth fairy, but you like kidnap people and throw teeth on the bed where you kidnap them from. Leave a bunch of teeth like candy.
It is a weird, it is like trafficking body parts. Do you not realize that we teach our children it's okay to sell body parts? Like, what's next? A kidney? Like, you know what I mean? You start with your, premolars and then it's the pancreas. You can't live without your pancreas, Kathy.
It's okay. Go to sleep. Some stranger's going to come in and steal a tooth from under your pillow while you're sleeping
They'll
at night.
give you money.
That's great. Go to sleep. Sleep well. That's good.
That's late stage capitalism for you, kid.
Seriously.
I saved all my teeth. I started losing them late, and I started like hoarding them. And
But
not
you had your
putting them
baby
under
teeth until you were 22?
like 15, but still I kept them, and I was gonna put them all, and then but even at that age I knew that it wasn't real, but I was gonna put them all under my pillow and cash out big. That was my
all at once. More money. Making it rain.
Oh
Thanks,
my god. I'm such a weirdo. Oh.
Thank
But
you for being that. I'm glad you're a weirdo.
Thanks, me
I
too. I'm
really
glad you're a weirdo. I mean, you didn't say you were a weirdo, but you're good kind of.
No, I'm a weirdo. I really hope that everybody who watches and listens to this show, they understand just how much of a weirdo. I don't know if they do. I try to be very normal most of the time. Okay. All right. Everyone, if you're just joining in right now, Natalia Regan is my incredible guest this evening. She is an example of, let me say, the best that science communication has to offer. She successfully straddles comedy and science in so much of her work. And honestly, for years, I kind of followed Natalia in a little comedy sitcom fandom of my own making. But anyway, I've always appreciated the comedy, but also the candor that she brings forth on important issues related to health, like boobs and butts and mammograms and these important things in life. Very important. Yeah, and I've been an incredible fan of the more recent shorts that you've been producing for TikTok and Instagram and these little bits of content that you've been putting out, and everyone's like, I'll share. I'm like, hi, friends, you must know Natalia. She's great. But anyway, I do at this point need to start a video to introduce you all to Natalia.
Primatologist, comedian, mother of dragons,
working?
professor, podcaster, TV show host. Oh, I also make art with my boobs, and weirdo. Essentially, my passion is to make science funny. Yes, I use humor to make science topics more digestible for the masses. You may have seen my Going Ape series or Fossil Friday. You might also notice I talk in a million different accents. Why? Is it time for the backstory? Will someone help me with before I became a scientist, I was an actor. Guess how I got my SAG card? I played a dancing chicken McNugget in a McDonald's commercial. I fell for the stunt nugget. Potting was such sweet and sour sorrow. It was terrible. Went on to play career-changing roles like pregnant prisoner with black eye. Yes, I'm sitting on the toilet. Not even my shittiest role. You might have caught me as a drunk groupie in my bra and panties on My Name is Earl. Earl and Ralph's mom made out on top of my passed out body. At age 25, I got hit by this truck. Good news, I survived. The truck didn't. If you want to know more about this totally freak accident, you can check out my Story Collider podcast. But getting hit by that truck was the catalyst to go back to school to become a monkey-chasing anthropologist. Or primatologist. Got my bachelor's degree from CSUN. I also went back for grad school, where I got to move to Panama and chase monkeys whilst riding a horse. Mine liked to fart a lot. I got to do a survey of a critically endangered subspecies of spider monkey. Important side note, never touch a wild monkey like this. Teen Floss was a former pet that we were trying to get into a sanctuary, and that smile is pure fear. Because this is the next picture. She jumped on me. And while finishing grad school, I decided to combine my two favorite things, science and comedy. Started making videos in my garage, including the titillating The Story of Boobs, the Breast Tale Ever Told. That landed me on the Today Show, talking tatas with Ann Curry. And I accidentally admitted I watched Skinamax as a child. Sorry, Mom. And a couple days later, Stephen Colbert made fun of our boob segment, called for Butt Week. You can bet your sweet peachy keister I did a rebuttal, and Butt Week was born. For more butt stuff, you can check out my Ologies podcast. After boobs and butts, I covered balls and bacula, or the penis bone. And I hosted this Bigfoot TV show. Then I moved to New York City to be a comedy writer and correspondent on Neil deGrasse Tyson's Star Talk. Then I got to talk some monkey morality with Bill Nye. So there's a little backstory. Thank you so much for your support, and please stick around for more appealing adventures.
Ah!
Okay, seriously, do people go bananas for you?
Ah! Well, sometimes. Usually it's because I'm wearing a banana suit.
Yeah, you do wear a banana suit. Why? What happened? How did you start going bananas?
As a primatologist, you really have to appeal to your monkeys. You know what I mean? And so for me, part of that was, slipping into something more comfortable and putting on a banana suit. But yeah,
Wow.
I know I wore it on the picket lines the past month at Warner Brothers. Every day I would go out there in my banana suit for, the whole time. And so I became Banana. People just call me Banana. And I'm not kidding.
You have no more name. You're just Banana now. That is all.
My banana costume's on my couch, but I got a lot of people to sign it when the strike ended. Like Jerry Ryan, who came out every day. I had her sign it. Yeah.
Jerry's so great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a big, for part of the acting community. She's a big, not a science communicator herself, but a huge proponent of science communication and the things people do. But how are you feeling? Like, this is not science or comedy related at all, but like the writer's strike, the actor's strike, all this stuff. Like, are you just relieved it's over? Are you happy with the results?
TBD. With the writers, yes, but with the actors.
Yeah.
So I joined SAG 26 years ago, and it had, I've watched my union when I joined my union when I was 18 years old. I only had to make $7,500 a year to qualify for health insurance. You got a card in the mail. Didn't have to pay a premium. You had health insurance. Now you have to make $27,000 of SAG money a year to qualify.
To even qualify.
And then you have to pay a premium. So I haven't had SAG insurance for many, many, many years, right? Yeah. So I also, that's a whole United States systematic problem, because our health insurance should not be tied to our employer, because that doesn't incentivize them giving us hours or that money. But right now, the AI stuff, they're not releasing the full deal. So it's a little frustrating because we're just been given a summary. And
so you don't know the actual wording related to the AI rights, which was basically like they could take your body, your face, your voice, and use it however they want.
Well, the new deal, the summary says we have to give consent, but they also can turn us down if we say we don't want to give consent. So how is that consent? That's not consent. That's coercion, basically. It's not, that's not how that works. So I want to know more. I don't know about you, but I have been what is considered FICOR for 10 years, because science communication, and this is another problem with our field, is not union.
There's no union. Yeah.
And I would love to do a video showing what I get paid for all the jobs I've done. Seriously. Because I want people to know how little science, not because I'm like, wah, wah, wah. It's more about people tell me they want to leave academia. And I've been a professor. I was a professor. I left teaching because it paid so little. But I get paid just as little to be a science communicator.
Go from little to little.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and I'm a comedian. So my mom always goes, "Do these comedy shows pay?" And I'm like, "Mom, no, it's comedy."
No.
But so I went from
funny. It's not like I can't eat. Come on.
Comedy's pain, Mom. It's pain. It's other people's pain. But so I think what we're seeing now. So for science communication purposes, I am now FICOR, which means I'm not really part of the union. I'm part of it, but I don't get any of the benefits. I don't even get to vote. But I'm so passionate. I was out there every day because I want to see change. And I also have been talking to a organization called the Nonfiction Coalition about unionizing SciComm.
Cool.
So I'm hoping that we can make some strides in that, because, I think we can only benefit from that. And, I tell other science communicators that I've turned down work because it didn't pay. And I've had science communicators come to me and say, oh, can I grab that work? I would like to do it for free. And I said, you can do that.
Don't do it
However,
for free.
However,
you need to ask to be paid.
You need to get paid because you screw all of us over. You screw yourself over because you're saying I am worth nothing, but you're also screwing all of us over because it tells this, and it was basically, it was my old boss.
It tells the industry that altogether we're worth nothing.
We're worth nothing. And it was a organization or a company that I'd work for that is very high profile that did have money, right? So this is where we have to fight. But that's my soapbox. I do think this is a labor revolution. You had UPS who had made big gains this year with their contract. WGA hospitality workers were on the line. Starbucks workers. I just found out that WGA strike captains went out with Starbucks workers to strike this morning.
Wow.
You have CSU, where I used to teach. They're threatening on going on strike right now.
Yeah, there's grad students and others who, like lecturers, who are also looking at striking. Just throughout science, throughout entertainment, across the spaces.
We're done. And I had an argument with a relative who, she's not a blood relative, but she makes a lot of, she's rich. She comes from money. She's a relative by marriage. And I remember telling her that I made about $550 a week teaching basically 3 classes a week at a university where I taught in person, 4-year university. And her response wasn't, the system needs to change. This is unfair. Her response was, you should live with more roommates. You don't have to live alone. And I was like, I'm a 44-year-old
It's your
woman.
Fault. It's your fault, Natalia.
It's my fault.
It's your fault. You wanted to educate people.
Right? I'm a 44-year-old woman with a master's degree teaching at a 4-year university where students are paying X amount. And we know that tuition is constantly being raised, but what isn't being raised is the
wages.
salary.
Yeah.
And a bulk of the teaching is now done by adjunct lecturers, which is basically slave labor. It's next to nothing. It's indentured servitude. So I'm seeing a revolution and I'm excited to see it.
I think the information economy, has been devaluing information, right? It's been everybody can get information. The internet is full of information. Yeah. You all can have information at your fingertips whenever you want to go. You go, information. But when do you have a person who is educated and wise in the ways of the area you want to study, who can give you direction, who can help to give you a curated version of the science to help you find a path among all the studies, among all the data sets, among all the things? I mean, yes, everybody can look at all the different data sets, and yes, do your own research, #. But expertise is valuable. There is time and there is effort and there is so much in what we know that I'm really, I think you're right. There is a revolution in the making in terms of what we know.
Yeah,
where we are. Yeah,
absolutely. I think I even just found out that my mail carrier let me know that postal workers have been working without a contract for months. Did we learn nothing from the 1980s? Going postal did not have, that's not a euphemism. That is about
somewhere.
I'm just, and do you know how many postal workers? I just did a stand-up bit about this. There are 630,000 postal workers. We have 630,000 disgruntled postal workers in the United States. Like, what are we doing? So again, like across the board, the disparity of the haves and the have-nots is growing, and it will sort itself out. But again, it's just, in the meantime, a lot of us are suffering.
Yeah. I mean, have another latte, just, get a roommate to make up for it, or, whatever. It's okay.
Just stop having so much avocado toast. If you would stop, you could afford this mansion.
I mean, you don't have to use avocados. I mean, you can just pretend that grass on the lawn, you mush it up a little bit and you spread that as a paste all over your toast. It's, it's got fiber.
Chlorophyll. Chlorophyll you right up.
Oh, jeez.
Sweet.
Okay, tell me a bit about some really awesome things you've been doing recently. What kind of science are you interested in? What do you like these days?
So, lately, this past year, I started podcasting for Scientific American. So I had a podcast that came out in September about a lesbian monkey love triangle. Yes, at an animal sanctuary that I volunteer at called Animal Tracks. You should look them up online. They're wonderful. They're in Agua Dulce, California. But it's 3 monkeys, 2 species, one hell of a love story. It's a white-faced capuchin and 2 brown capuchins that have a torrid love affair. The white-faced capuchin has just reached puberty, and she is just a hot and bothered monkey. And so she goes back and forth pleasuring. So it's Bailey, Macy, and Haley. Hey, Bay, May. And Bailey goes back and forth pleasuring Macy and Haley.
Oh
my. But their power dynamic is really interesting because Bailey is, she's the white-faced capuchin. She's younger. Haley is the lowest of the monkeys on the ladder of monkeys. And so when she's pleasuring Haley, she is essentially kind of dominating her, right? But when she's pleasuring Macy, that's Boo on the far right. He's not involved. He's actually been fixed, poor boy. But when she's pleasuring Macy, it's about serving the dominant one. So it's her way of buttering one's biscuits. So it's like, if I butter your biscuits, you might drive the getaway car when we rob the banana stand again. And so it's like a way to, again, there's a transactional thing with sex in humans, whether we like it or not, and primates. But as I was writing this, a study came out of Cayo Santiago of macaques, back to macaque attack. Macaques that they were studying, they found that there could be an evolutionary benefit to homosexual behavior in a group of males. They found 76% of these, I think it was 273 males, 76% of them were mounting other males. And only, I think, 25% were mounting females. And they found that the males that were engaging in homosexual behavior had slightly more offspring than those that didn't. So perhaps by buttering the biscuits of the males that are dominant, they will have more access to the ladies that they want and perhaps father more for offspring. So again, I'm very big on looking at, queer primates and or queer animals in general, and looking at homosexuality and just the fluidity of sexuality, because we don't look at monkeys. We don't label them straight or gay. We generally, pansexual would be the term. A lot of fluidity. But I think we can see that across humans.
Yeah. It's just a monkey there, right? It's like, why are we labeling it any particular way, aside from anthropomorphizing based on the particular mores that we have right now?
That, and I do think anthropomorphism is an interesting idea, because I don't know, the more I think about it, the more I kind of get a little perturbed by some of it, only because we have to remember, like, for instance, we look at primate behavior and we're like, wow, they're like us, and we try to find ways that they're like us, but it's like, have we stopped and think for a second? These species have been around for millions of years. Humans, only 300,000. We are just like them in many ways. We have like a lot of the emotions that we feel: grief, jealousy, understanding what's fair and not, altruism. We see that in a lot of animals. So what's to say that, they're like us? I mean, that's pretty species centric, if you ask me.
I think it totally is. And I think it goes, this impacts also the research questions that are being asked. Because if we're trying to just, say, oh, they're like us, so we'll ask these questions, it's not actually like the difficulty is getting researchers to just look at the animals as the animals they are and take all the bias away from it with no judgment or, what expectations. Yeah.
Well, a great example is gender. Mm-hmm. This idea of gender. Gender is a constructed idea by humans, there's differences between the sexes, but I'm probably going to make some people pissed, but we scientists have known for a while that sex and gender are not the same, and neither. Okay, good. I know. This ain't Joe Rogan. Or is it?
No, it's not.
You? Wait a minute. Who's under that mask?
Great reveal.
Joe Rogan experience this whole time. No, but sex and gender are not the same, and neither are binary. So, but this idea though about gender and foisting these sort of gender roles on non-human primates is just ridiculous, right? And because I get asked that, like, oh, is there gender roles? And I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's also, this idea that there is some sort of, culture sometimes with some different primate groups, because a lot of behavior or what they call it culture, just behavioral adaptations to the environment, because that's oftentimes what it is. If they're responding to what the environment is, and there's a lot of plasticity in primate behavior. We've seen primates go from having a very strict hierarchy to in one generation become nearly egalitarian, and one of my favorite books is writes about that. Robert Sapolsky's A Primate's Memoir. If anybody is interested, it is the book that basically made me want to become a primatologist. And he talks a lot about how plastic we are.
Yeah, I love his work in primatology and behavior, and like so much of his work. I'm not sure about his most recent book and free will and all determinism and all that kind. I'm like, okay,
that bummed me out a little bit. So
all right, dude, whatever.
I know. Yeah, I need to read more, because I'm like, I love him so much, and so much.
Right.
What, Behave was really fascinating, and but yeah, that the free will stuff is,
It's interesting, when you're scientific, not idols, but the people you look up to, in science. Like I remember when I was a PhD. And he gave a keynote speech at the annual Society for Neuroscience conference. And just the excitement of getting to see him speak and like talk about the brain and hormones and behavior and all the work that he had done. And it was fascinating. But this is like another step beyond it, where it's like, okay, you're like Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about sea slugs. This is, you get out.
Yeah. Well, and I worked with Neil, but I will take him to task for one moment, but one time he tweeted, and he used to run primate tweets by me. He would run something, and I'd be like,
okay,
no, Neil, that's wrong. Or yes, that's right. I mean, he's not a dumb man. He's a very smart man,
but he's very smart. On Twitter or whatever that place is now, he would get torn apart by the biologists every time he stepped into the biology ring. But
my favorite tweet was, if there was a species for which sex was painful, it would have long since gone extinct. To which the biologists immediately leapt on and were like, bed bugs, black widows, cats, praying mantises, just ducks, pigs. Like,
there's all of them. So many.
I mean, let's talk endometriosis real quick. But again, actually, that's something I won't go into. But another thing that's really fascinating to me is also endometriosis and the lack of attention it gets. Yeah. But that's just a thing, side thing.
That's a lady problem.
Yeah. Well, actually, my next podcast with Scientific American is called Junk Science. It's going to be a series about understudied genitalia, which, fun side note, that was my nickname in 7th grade. All you have to do is add GE in front of Natalia. It's genitalia. Aaron Feinstein, brilliant and mean. Love him.
Boys. Middle school.
But I got to interview Dr. Blair Peters, the surgeon who finally counted all the nerve fibers on the female clitoris, the human female clitoris. I interviewed them about 2 months ago, or a month and a half ago, and it was fascinating. And you'll appreciate this. Guess why? Well, first of all, Dr. Blair Peters is a peripheral nerve and gender affirming surgeon. That's what they specialize in. And I asked them, why did you count all the nerve fibers on the human clitoris? And just guess why?
Because no one had done it before.
It's a great guess. No, it was to build a better penis.
No, I mean, that I should have gone there first, because that's super patriarchal and really the way that a lot of the research is addressed for.
But this shows why trans care helps everybody, right? Because now we know.
This is the perspective that researchers are coming from when they want to think about female reproductive health and sexual health. Then it's really all about the penis. I would like you to know, if you do look up ancient penis totem in your Google search for images, it is just an incredible image search. It's great.
I feel like I have that saved. Hold on.
I feel like this is something everyone should do. Ancient penis totems.
Have you ever seen the Mount Vesuvius or the Pompeii dicks? Pompeii weens. I don't know what I can say here. Pompeii baloney ponies. They're the weens with wings.
Wings with wings.
Yeah. My step grandfather is Italian and he had a book about it. And I was enamored. You know, I got busted for writing. I was a smut peddler as a tween. I got busted for writing trashy novellas as a child, based on my Skinamax.
Sorry, Mom. Your mom knew already.
Totems. She knew. Oh wow,
Totally
these are some good weens.
There are weens with wings.
I love these
weens with tails. There are weens growing out of heads. There are
with noses.
Large. There are small. It's fascinating.
Sorry, I love that these balls are the balls are knees. In this one, I just want to point out the balls. Oh wait, hold on. They're knees.
They're knees. That's what they are.
Test knees. They're test knees. I'm gonna just wow. Some of these are very impressive.
This is archaeology. It's history.
Well, the world's oldest. Can I say this word? Maybe the world's oldest dildo is thought to be 30,000 years old. Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
That's
it's very. You know, I mean, it's science. Well, because there was a study that came out last year that macaques, back to macaque attack.
You can't get away from macaque.
I can't.
Macaque.
I got to keep touching macaque. Okay, so I'm going to touch back to macaque. But they found that they were masturbating with pebbles.
No.
And so, yes.
Ow, no.
Yes.
Ladies.
Yeah. No, the males were.
Men.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, how?
No,
what? Okay,
what?
I don't. Yeah. But still. That's why I did that research. Science. I'm not just
this is research.
A depraved pervert.
Serious.
I mean, I'm that too, but this was for science. But yeah, so with junk science, so I interviewed Dr. Blair Peters, Dr. Jen Lincoln, an OBGYN, and then a urologist, Dr. Ashley Winder. But I also, you'll love this. I interviewed she's soon to be Dr. Ashley Falwell, who did the research that discovered that snakes not only had one clitoris, they have two devil's doorbells, and it's forked. The carpets match the drapes.
Right. The snake penis is also forked, isn't it? So
the hemipenes.
The hemipenes, yes. Double fun.
And she showed me tons of pictures, or not pictures, but actual plasticized hemipenes, and I gotta say, they were excellent. Just really
plasticized.
I don't know if they were plasticized. Maybe did I make that word up? No, jazzercised.
It's a real word.
But maybe they were just in formaldehyde. But they were gorgeous. They were terrifying. Some of them look like earrings. You know, like the really cool. But oh yeah.
I've been staring off to the side because I was trying to remember a science writer friend of mine was writing an article, and I don't know if she actually has published it at this date, so I'm not going to say anything. But in your interest of this kind of topic, you should look up menotoxin.
Menotoxin.
Apparently,
male toxin. Yeah. Sorry.
No, apparently there was an idea that floated about for a very long time that female menstrual blood or the menstrual cycle produced toxins toxic to men and those around them. And the story, like if you dig into the story,
dear Lord,
there's a scientist, a housekeeper, and the rest is history. But
I can't wait. This is amazing. Well, I mean,
seriously, it's a deep dive if you want to go menotoxin.
I don't know,
and it's only within like the last 10 or 15 years that researchers are really going, no, there is no such thing as menotoxin, and addressing this wild tale from some male scientist's brain from so long ago. But yes, was it
David Wakefield?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Decades of this garbage.
Wow.
People were just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's why we have to put women in a room or go away. That's great.
Do you know
You're
Kate
toxic.
Clancy? Is it Kate Clancy? Do you know Kate Clancy? She just wrote a book. You would love her. She is
the biological
period.
anthropologist. Yes, she did the work recently looking at the changes to menstruation based on COVID vaccination. Or yes, I got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And she just
We
wrote a book
interviewed
called
her.
Period. You did? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should tell you this. I feel like your viewers have already gotten a clear idea of how weird I am. I do make art with my boobs, but I have known to do this in the past and present to make art with my menstrual fluid.
Really?
Yeah. For years, since I was like in high school, college. Yeah. Little weirdo. It's art supply. It's forget Shark Week. It's art week, you know?
Who needs to go to the art store when I have fresh supply once a month?
I mean, look, it's a miserable time. Why not make the best of it?
Oh, gosh.
The most of it.
Especially when you're having to be by yourself in the woman tent.
Oh, yes. My hut.
Your hut.
It's very uncomfortable. I have to go out there. I get displaced. I live across the street from Warner Brothers, so it gets a little weird.
What is it? The three little Warner Brother little characters come and they're like, hey, what you doing
it's
there,
that
Natalia?
Menotoxin, stay away. Leave me be. Yeah, this is
I
I'm real
kicked my
popular
dog
in the
out.
neighborhood.
Sleeping in the doghouse tonight. There we go.
Oh my god. But yeah, that's how I make lemonade out of lemons.
Or artwork out of period products. Yes.
I know. I've yeah.
Many
There's
menstrual masterpieces.
Well,
I'm
you know
sure.
what? At a certain point, like I'm getting older. Like there's a point where I know that this is limited. See,
Done.
this
This is
the window is closing, Kiki.
oh my. Are we seriously going to come see your art show? That's the like life exposition. It's like
See my boob paintings
from the beginning
and
to end.
Oh my god. I don't even think I have the old ones because I think, after 5 million moves, they've gone away. Yeah.
I would love to see that though. It would be so hilarious. It would be like a life in blood.
blood, sweat, and tears. Actually,
A woman's life, the beginning and end.
I may have an Instagram page and it may be called My Period Pieces.
Sure. It may be. Okay. Probably, possibly.
And my name might be Hemoglobin.
Perhaps. Heme for short.
And it just got real. Yeah, I'm spitzing over here because I don't generally. I admit it. I know. I told my dad recently, and he was like,
What's art if
Why?
you don't share it?
"Well, do you want to see one? I bet I could." I did one of a cheetah.
No. Oh my gosh. I love this.
It's so stupid. I know, it's really ridiculous, but it's
It's art. It's a thing. I like how you are expressing yourself.
I do what I can, whatever works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sounds like you have a follower on Twitter now. Oh
no!
Vanessa
Already
Cozy.
followed on
Hello.
Twitter. Hello. How are you?
How are you? out
I hope
there?
I haven't totally just disturbed anybody. But yeah, I again, like I feel like if you can kind of combine science and comedy and still, find other hobbies that are entertaining, I like.
What is
Well,
life except like seriously? If you're not finding a way to entertain yourself throughout it, are you enjoying your process?
We 3D print skulls
Ooh,
too. That's another little side fun hobby.
love that.
Yeah,
That's fun.
yeah.
So scientifically accurate reconstructions of the skulls that are.
Yeah, it's a scan. So
Printed.
they do a actual scan, and then you can print it. It took 4 days to make that one because
Oh my
they just take
gosh.
forever. Yeah.
Is
No.
is it resin printing or is it
It's
what are you
it's
using?
PLA. So
PLA.
we have a resin printer, but you can't run that in the house. It has to be the garage. It's toxic.
It's stinky. Yes.
I'll get real high. Not the kind of, not the high
Not the
you
fun
want.
kind.
No. Natalia goes too high. Yeah, I'll lose a few too many blood cells or brain cells, which I've already probably lost, just in life in general. But yeah, no, it's the filament. It's the PLA filament, which is actually made from corn, essentially. So it's
and
really
you
cool.
can get that recycled. Also, they have recycled sourced
Yeah.
PLA, and yeah,
Yeah,
I love that gold color for.
I know.
What species is that?
Paranthropus boisei, my favorite. It's OH5, found by Mary Leakey.
Awesome.
I love him. His nickname was Zinjanthropus, and then they later gave him, or his name was Zinjanthropus, and then they renamed it Paranthropus boisei as the genus and species. But yeah, and he has ridiculously large molars. There we go.
He's so shiny.
He's gorgeous.
He's beautiful.
Yeah.
How many skulls have you printed? How many do
We
you have?
We have 2 Tong Childs because we were trying to get it dialed in. So we have maybe 4. Wait, this is another one. This is Paranthropus. I'm sorry.
Here's another one. This one's black. Oh, that's great. Is that a dark black color?
Yeah. So this is Black Skull. That's actually its name because when they discovered it was encased in a lot of magnesium. So the skull itself was really dark. It was discovered by Alan Walker and Richard Leakey of the Leakey fame. His mom discovered this. So 2 Paranthropus individuals were discovered by Leakey people and discovered in 1985. But yeah, they have these huge sagittal crests. You can kind of see right here. It looks like a conquistador helmet.
Yeah.
And that is because they had big chompers, big old molars.
So there were large muscles that had to come up and attach to the top of the skull to be able to have the bite strength.
Yeah.
Even though we've determined through rigorous research that humans and our amazing jaw is here so that we can punch each other.
Yeah. Excuse me. And we have we also, none of them had a chin. Right. I always, keep your chin up because you have one.
We have one. We have
none of them others.
Our primate brethren, they're like, what chin? I don't have a chin.
Chinless.
Chinless non-human primates.
Over. Yeah.
Do you have some more like science-y stories that you've been covering lately, or do you want to?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I did 2 episodes recently on the History Channel, and
cool.
We covered one of them is just a constantly developing story. Now, I don't know about you, but I am 100% team orca. We talked a little bit about this labor revolution, and I believe that these sassy cetaceans take the term "eat the rich" quite literally, as they have been attacking and ramming rudders of sailboats since 2020. There's been over 500 attacks on these different yachts. 4 boats at this point have been sunk by these orcas, and they're trying to get to the root of why this is all happening. And it seems they found the original orca that has been orchestrating these attacks of these games of Yahtzee. I know it's terrible. There's too many puns. I just need to stop. But there's these three orcas that have seemed to be associated with a lot of these attacks. And the main ringleader is a mature female named White Gladys. And then there's Gray and Black Gladys, which are 2 juvenile males. And they think the timing makes sense that White Gladys may have been pregnant when these attacks started to happen. And she shows a lot of signs of scars, just different, cuts and like markings on her body, as if she had either been hit by a propeller, one too many times, or caught in a net. And so one of the theories is that, because what's happening is she is attacking these rudders, and it's the crazy cool thing is they know that a rudder, if you disable a rudder, the boat's SOL.
Done.
It's
not
done.
Going anywhere.
You're screwed. Yeah. No, not going anywhere. And you could potentially
probably going over. Sinking.
Right? You can possibly breach the hull, right? Yeah. So they're going for the soft, vulnerable underbelly. And what's happening is she's doing this, and the other 2 males have learned and are following suit and doing it with her. And not only that, but she's transmitting this behavior, or it's being learned or imitated, whatever you want to call it, by other orca groups. And so we're seeing this behavior grow. in this area, which, oh, by the way, this is off the coast of the Iberian Peninsula in a very populated area where a lot of boats have to go through, called Orca Alley, which it's been called that. And basically what's happening is they're attacking these rudders, disabling boats, and it's either thought that it's retaliation, like she's
retaliation.
That's retaliation. I wish White Gladys knew who I was. I love her so much.
In this game of revenge.
She's such a beauty. She's such a, oh, what a darling girl. But she's attacking these boats. It's not sure if it's retaliation or it's play, because orcas like to play. You can see them, and they also will imitate, and they have different fads. Like in summer of '86, they took to wearing salmon on their head like hats. Sociopaths.
For no reason, just because.
Weirdos. I love them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Salmon hat. Do you have a salmon hat? No.
Just for the halibut, that's why we do it. You knew it was coming. You felt it. You felt this. But yeah, these sassy cetaceans, I mean, yeah. And if it's not enough that they can ram the rudders and disable the boats, they also have an 8-foot long prehensile baloney pony that they could,
What if they put that to work?
They could the whole new meaning to cold cocking. That's all I can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's terrible. It's terrible jokes here. But yeah, so this is the reason why I brought this up is because there actually was, one, they sunk a boat called Champagne, which made me laugh my butt off, because I was like,
that
wow.
cork was popped in that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean,
the boat was not left bobbing like a cork in the water.
There you go. Oh my God. That's my case of bubbly. But yeah, it was bad. And they're just eating the rich, like straight up, you know what I mean? Like eating the rich. Just don't even care. They're just like, we got this. I think the actors need to team up with the orcas. I think the postal workers.
Yes, orcas and unions. There we go.
Oh my God.
Contract problems.
Yeah,
solved.
this is a great idea. So they also just sunk a Polish ship last week. Yeah, because I did this show last Tuesday, and it was a few days before that they sunk their 4th ship, and they attack for like an hour. There's been a couple accounts of like how terrifying it is, and you can imagine if you're on a sailboat, which I actually I lived on a sailboat off in San Francisco for like a year, which it sounds a lot sexier than it was. It was miserable.
Yeah, but cold in San Francisco for the sailboat life. Yeah.
Cold and small, like you're just like, you're sardines in a can. And
you think
I would
mold
be terrified.
grows in Portland? Yes.
Yeah, right. But yeah, so that's I don't know. It's a fascinating story. More to come. But it's left a lot of people just sort of terrified to sail their sailboats through the Iberian Peninsula.
I have a friend actually who put life savings into a boat and went sailing and had to leave harbor through Orca Alley, and there were reports of orca sightings, but their boat made it through, but like a couple of boats behind them was attacked. And so like they just narrowly missed being attacked by orcas. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So they were very, there was definite anxiety about that going on.
Yeah, because they've sunk 4 so far. It looks, the Polish one was number 4. Because that's
they're going to get better at sinking the boats. They're going to learn the techniques a little bit better. But I think this is fascinating because we've talked about this story on the show before, but they hadn't gotten as far as tracing it back to the
White Gladys.
White Gladys.
Well,
this is seriously like, is this an HBO special?
So good. Yeah. And they think, okay, so she was pregnant when this started. So, they're very protective of their calves. This is how crazy she is about ramming rudders. She's really into it. She will leave her calf to ram a rudder, which is not generally, that's what scientists were kind of like, whoa.
Poor parenting.
It's a little risky.
Maybe there's a little orca PTSD there, maybe? Like,
yes. I mean, honestly, this is a podcast I want to listen to.
I know.
Get it? Because they're in a pod.
The orca pods. And, yes.
Don't listen. Just don't. I'm going to stop. But seriously, I want to know what's going on. I want to get to the bottom of. So that's one thing. And then we also were talking about permafrost. And this is crazy. This is, as you know, The Earth is warming. That ship has sailed. Is it? What? I know.
I've never heard of this news. Fake news.
We just had dengue fever, I feel like, in Pasadena. And that person hadn't been traveling. So it's like, well, okay. That doesn't mean that, somebody wasn't traveling, came back, the mosquito bit that, it could have been that.
Could have been, yeah.
Yeah. But so anyways, permafrost is melting. Permafrost, of course, is, called permafrost because it's Earth that is permanently frozen. But as climate is warm, as greenhouse gases are emitted into the atmosphere, Earth is warming, permafrost is melting. And when permafrost melts, guess what? All that organic matter in the permafrost is now able to decompose. And what does it do? It emits even more greenhouse gas. So it's climate change causing climate change. Yay! And then, I know, woo! And so they, in the show, like the show called Unexplained. And I've done a few episodes of the regular show, but this is Unexplained Now, which is like a shoulder content. But they talked about how they were drilling in Siberia about 130 feet down, and they found nematodes, a new species of nematode, which is a roundworm, a parasitic roundworm. And it was about almost 50,000 year old roundworm. And it came back to life. So like those brine shrimp, it's that cryptobiosis where these species can actually freeze metabolic function. So basically like a brine shrimp, this nematode froze all metabolic function. It came back to life and immediately started reproducing. And they're an all female species. So they weren't banging. This is just like, it's like a mother's job.
I'm just going to be my daughter. I will make my daughters, and then my daughters will make my daughters. And we're splitting, we're budding. That's good.
But so immediately, right? But this is just an example of, the fact that we are waking up a host of we're the hosts, but a host of potential zombie viruses, bacteria, because, one of the questions they asked me was like, well, what about a woolly mammoth? Could that come back to them? Well, no, we're not going to get a reanimated woolly mammoth, but the bacteria in that woolly mammoth's gut has already been known and seen to wake up. And some of it is even antibiotic resistant bacteria.
That's wild. So they had, because, we know with antibiotics, a lot of these antibiotics come from bacterial warfare, right? The bacteria fighting each other. And so we found them because we were like, look, this bacterial toxin kills another bacteria. We'll use it. And so you have these re-emergences of genes and mutations and traits and
no, it's great. I mean, the whole zombie virus, we talk about things like Zika or dengue or yellow fever coming further north, but we don't talk about the things that are sleeping.
Right. The emerging infectious diseases, which are the ones we're looking at right now that have been around for a while, but that are just moving with the climate changing, versus the sleeping ones. But I do wonder, so many, we found out that herpes virus has been with us since we were our ancestors.
Speak for yourself, Kiki.
Herpes virus is I love these proto-humans. We'll stick around with them. And so we have evolved with a lot of viruses, with a lot of bacteria. And so I do wonder, even though now we haven't been exposed to things, how much our immune systems still have in them from, just little bits and pieces from previous infections ancestrally. How much is in our DNA still?
Seriously, maybe what we need to do is go swimming in that seawater and just absorb a crap ton of DNA. Just rub it all over us.
Just go swimming in the ocean. Yes, absorb it. Yes, this is what we will do.
What are they? Extracellular vesicles?
Yes.
It'll be interesting to see.
It's the newest in skincare.
Right. Well, oh God. Wait a minute. Remember, I'm sorry. One of my 562 weird ass day jobs I had as a student was working at Barney's New York, LA, and I remember La Mer face lotion, which is the sea. The sea. Were we just rubbing weird DNAs all over our face?
That's right. Thank you, La Mer.
La mère. Qu'est-ce que tu fais aujourd'hui?
Quelque chose.
Quelque chose. Ça va bien. Je ne voyageais jamais sans ma vibrateur. Oh, that might have been dirty. I'm sorry. To your
Je
French.
veux aller à la
watch-
bibliothèque, mes amis.
Yes. Je suis le roi de fromage. Well, I was going to say, gaining immunity. I was going to say, yeah, one of the things that was
Yeah.
really interesting is as anatomically modern humans. So we were talking about being chinless at one point, and I just want to point out there were two camps for a while that thought, yes, we definitely had sex with Neanderthals, anatomically modern humans, because we will have sex with just about anything, right? Anything with legs that walks upright, we will probably, it doesn't even have to have that chair. I'll have sex with that chair. I'll have sex with that watermelon, whatever. We'll have, you name a pie, name it. But there were a lot of people that actually, there was a whole camp of people that were like, we would never have sex with those chinless freaks. Never.
We're humans.
Yes, we would never.
Yeah.
But the ancient DNA, like hips, does not
never
lie.
lies.
It doesn't lie, and it told a little story. It snitched on those Neanderthals, and it was like, yeah, we definitely boned them, and we also gained. There was benefits to boning Neanderthals because we actually gained some of the immunity that they had developed from living in a cold Europe. And also some of the traits that helped them, whether it was being stockier, having more fat reserves, a broader chest, whatever, or stockier build, paler skin for absorbing that vitamin D or that sunlight, so you synthesize vitamin D. So I don't know. It's just very interesting. Like, what if we maybe have any immunity to some of these sleeping pathogens that are just waiting to.
Right. It's got to be. I mean, we've been evolving. We talk about, systems evolving together for eons. And so we've been here, we've evolved with these things, even though some things might be sleeping. We also know that there are lots of little repeats and other sleeping retroviruses and other things in our DNA. What do we know?
I don't know anything, Kiki. I'm just here to party. I'm just here to rage.
Rage,
with white, gray, and black Gladys and Ram Rudders. That's what I'm here to do.
This last weekend, I saw Nobel Prize winning scientist present, and I'm blanking on
Pug.
Pug presenting. And of course, I'm blanking on the name because I have the memory of a goldfish. And so, yes, Francis Arnold. And Francis Arnold was fantastic. Talked about creating new enzymes and the technology, the chemistry technique that she pushed forward, that she got the Nobel Prize for. But her humor was great because she was like, look, biologists, you think you're awesome? You have like this much of the world to play in. You are constrained by nature. I have the whole universe. And so she's going on. She's like, and also humanity. What are we doing? We're creating these things for our own uses. I mean, why are poodles?
She makes a really good point. Why
the pug with the breathing? This animal would not exist in the wild. This is like the panda of humans' genetic tinkering.
She's very cute. She's very sweet. Yeah. But that dog is dumb as a rock. She's not very bright. I love her. I love you. But no, this, and it's, they're one of the oldest dog breeds, about 400 BC. They were bred to be like the clowns for the kings in China. Yeah. They were like, but bred to be like, like the emperors in China, like to be like the kind of like the little dopey clown dogs. And she fulfills that role very well here. But I would not, my boyfriend, he came with a pug. That's why I swiped right, was because, I mean.
Thank you. Yes. Oh, you have a pug? You like your pug? You're just good. Yes.
He looked like a good dog dad, there's something very sexy about that. But yeah, selective breeding has been cruel.
Yes.
And dog domestication is fascinating too. Like that's thought to maybe have helped us outcompete Neanderthals.
Right? With our dogs able to, like wolves, but domesticated, be able to help us hunt, be able to, help take out, the cats. I don't know. They killed maybe a few of the mice, but, dogs probably did that a little bit better even. But
Possibly.
I don't know. I am convinced. My cat, she is like the most wonderful, soft lap cat. She just gets in there. She's like, no, I am an anchor. I hold you to the couch now. You shall not ever rise again, and I shall be soft like a chinchilla.
Oh, I want to love her in a way that's appropriate for a human to love a cat that is soft like a chinchilla.
Yes.
What's her name?
Cappy.
Oh, is she a capybara?
No.
Why did she get the name Cappy? It's so cute.
She's a tabby. She's a tabby cat. And when my child was young, I was explaining at the time, we had our other cat, Stella. It's like a star. And then I was like, oh, well, there's a scientist named Tabitha, and she found this star, which is doing these weird things, and people want to know why the star is acting the way that it is. And so she's studying it, and it's called Tabby's star. And I was thinking maybe we could call the cat Tabby Star because she's a tabby. And Kai said, yes, Cappy Star.
Oh,
and so she's been Cappy. Cappy
how old is she?
She is 8 years old now.
I want to love her.
Midlife.
I'm going
come to Portland.
I will.
You must. Come to Portland.
I shall. Please tell Cappy I'm coming. I shall take the first train at dawn.
She'll be here. Oh, she glared at me just now. She doesn't care.
Tell her to shove it. Bring me a fish. I want a fish.
Do you want some
Oh, Cappy.
fish? Maybe a little salmon hat. Okay. It's getting later. I have 2 more stories.
Yes.
Do you want to run through them really fast?
Sure. I'm going to text my boyfriend real quick. I'm sorry.
Hey, honey, I'm still podcasting with Kiki.
Don't come in. Yeah.
Please
All right.
don't come inside the house. I'm okay.
While Natalia's texting, I'll let you know that if you head over to twist.org, you can click on our Zazzle link to purchase some of our nice merchandise for TWIS with our art and other things with our logo. It helps support the show. The Patreon link, if you would like to just directly support us in an ongoing fashion, $10 and more a month, and you'll get thanked by name at the end of the show. And additionally, for show notes and all that kind of stuff, you can go there and to, get links to other things like Natalia's Instagram, maybe. But we'll have Woohoo! Yes. Okay. So we were talking earlier about emerging infectious diseases. And so I'd like to jump really quickly into one of the interesting questions of when does an animal become social or not social when they're sick? So when I'm sick, I'm like, I'm at home and I'm going to crawl into bed and I don't want to see anybody. I don't feel very good. And bats are like, go away. You have a cold. I don't want to talk to you. And so the bats, when they're sick, they're like isolated. However, this recent study out of Virginia Tech is kind of interesting, published in the journal Ecology and Evolution. The researchers determined that sick finches, like house finches, that these finches that they studied, when they... And the way the researchers determined this is they basically gave the finches eye infections. They're like, here, we will infect you and then see how you act. And then we will treat you and see how you act. So they could have the same animals in different situations, see if their behavior changed. And they determined that these cute little house finches really like to socialize when they're not feeling well. It's unlike most other stories that we've heard about sick animals, that when these finches had eye infections, other birds were not likely to notice the eye infections and so didn't shun them they had a scarlet letter or something like that. They just, so these birds hung out near the bird feeders and kind of hung out near the flocks. And when they were better, they became less likely to hang out by the flocks. They were more, kind of average, like the regular unsick bird. And they determined this by basically having the birds infected or as a control in cages where they had empty cages and cages full of a flock. And then they said, where do you like to sit? Are you sitting near the food? Are you sitting near the birds? Where are you going? And these birds who were sick were more likely to go to the flock Oh, these flocking birds. Yes. And these flocking birds were more likely to be spreading the disease, which is the downside of this behavior. But the benefit of this behavior that the researchers have determined is that the flocking behavior might benefit them because when they're sick, they're not able to see or react to to predators as easily. So the birds they have reduced anti-predator behaviors, and they're just taking cover in the flock.
I just like that these 15 birds have like 8 eyes between them. You know what I mean? Because like all the eyes are infected. So they're like one giant weird, like, you see him? No, I can't see. Hold on. You stand over there. I can't. Oh, okay. Now I can see.
You see him? I don't see him.
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, birds of a feather.
Yeah.
They flock together to hopefully not get eaten by predators.
God, are they giving them pink eye? What's that's just
they pretty much gave them pink eye. They gave them a bacterial pathogen, Mycoplasma gallisepticum. And it pretty much gave the birds conjunctivitis, and this is common in these finches, but it's also treatable, so that they knew they had antibiotics they could treat the birds with, and so the birds they were treated. So even though they were given a little eye infection for a little while, the researchers did help them become better.
That is fascinating, because I definitely don't want to be around anybody. Go away. Leave me alone. That's,
Right, my favorite was Tracy Ullman at the end of her old comedy show. Go home. Go home, everybody. Go home. Yeah. Similar, yes.
Yeah.
Not like we can spread the olds.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I wonder if they were just like eating the eye crusties off of each other's eyes. I know it's gross, but I'm just like wondering what I know. Oh, but yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, it's so interesting because primates are a highly social family of animals, and humans are no exception. Even
super
like the
social,
super hyper social. Our babies are completely altricial. Like you can't, there's like gelatinous sacks of beans and sand. That's what a baby is. It's that makes sounds and poops and all that good stuff. I can't wait to have one.
Sack full of brine shrimp.
Look at. Oh yes, that was me as a child, Kiki. Just swimming in that extracellular vesicle-filled seawater. That just brought the pug over. The pug's like, did someone say extracellular vesicle seawater?
I'm so excited. Do you want to play? Do you have a ball?
Mama, I fetched you a mustache. If you don't have a mustache, don't bother
searching for hours. Hey, it's only been 5 minutes. Come on, lady.
My reason. That's not a mustache. She doesn't have a mustache for me.
But she's adorable. It's okay.
She's repugnant. So I love you. But we're so incredibly social. But yeah, I get when it comes to being sick. Yeah, it would make sense for us to stick together, or at least take care of our. That's actually one of the kind of landmarks, or kind of check marks of what makes us human is taking care of our sick and injured. So not necessarily, I don't know if we flock together, but we take care of them.
I'm having inside jokes in my inside jokes, and keep them inside, Kiki. Don't say them outwardly. No.
I felt like I heard it and it was hilarious. Wait, hold on.
So good.
Yeah. Oh man. See,
I don't know. I don't know if this show has led people to drink yet, but the last story for the night is, we like to be social, but a lot of people can have issues, and extreme alcohol use is a disorder that can cause brain damage and health problems. Lots of alcohol kills your neurons, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so researchers have known for a very long time that there is a thinning of the cortical areas. So the cortex, which is your rational thought part of the brain. It's like, this is the part that puts all the cool ideas together. Makes you conscious.
I don't have that.
No, okay,
No,
you should get one.
Okay.
But when you drink a lot, the cortex, this area that we rely on a lot for being human, it thins. Thinner. Researchers previously have determined that if you stop drinking for a month, that your cortex starts to thicken up again. And so these researchers were like, okay, well, maybe let's look for longer than a month and see if these changes continue, see what happens. So they looked at 88 people with this alcohol use disorder. They did brain scans at a week, a month, and 7.3 months of abstinence. I don't know why 7.3 and not 7.5. I haven't dug into that specific aspect of this. But they determined that the individuals who were able to abstain from alcohol for the entire period, the majority of the cortical thickness was increased during that first month. There was a continued increase, but it was drastically reduced over the next period of time. So it really falls in line with a lot of talk related to changing habits and behaviors, where it takes, a certain number of days to get past the first impacts of the alcohol in your system, and then to get past that psychological barrier or the psychological habit, and create new habits that relate to abstinence. So perhaps the structure that's being rebuilt there, once you've gotten past a month, that maybe that is actually tying in with more long-term benefits. But it's really that first month of abstinence that can help your brain recover.
That's wild.
Yeah. But then if you go back and you stop, people go, I'm going to be sober for a month, sober September, sober January.
October, yeah.
I was sober November, whatever it is. That 1 month of being sober can actually really, does have impact on your brain. Your brain starts to repair itself. We don't know exactly what it is, but the thickness of your cortex recovers during that month.
That's good to know.
Cool. It's good to know. That is neat, right?
Yeah. No, I didn't drink from age 17 to 29 at all. I quit drinking at 17 because we start early in California.
Start early.
I mean, it wasn't, and I even, when I quit, it was not like I had a huge drinking problem. I just was like, this is dumb. I watched too many people around me go, I watched friends die. I watched, family members suffer. So I was like, yeah, it's not for me. And then I started drinking at age 29. And I had to learn how to drink in my 30s, and I was really bad at it. But I wasn't.
How much you should drink, and
I black out. Yeah. I straight up black out, and it doesn't take much, you know what I mean? And so I had to watch it, and I didn't really, again, I went back and forth, up and down of nah, I don't want this. This is not for me, to this and that. And then finally in March of last year, I was like, yeah, I think I'm done. Done. I think this is, yeah. But it definitely, all the research that I've looked at since then. And I mean, I've known it this whole time because I actually worked at a rehab for adolescents when I was 25. I was the night tech. So I worked 11 p.m. to 11 a.m. with these recovering addicts, children really. And, and you could definitely see the changes with them from when they came in to when they left. A month. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wonder also, the period of time that you were not drinking was also a big period of time that when the prefrontal cortex is completing its formation, and not having alcohol involved during that period of time probably was really great, because alcohol has been known to impact, and also any substance abuse has been known to detrimentally impact the formation of the prefrontal cortex, which is also important for habit control, for being able to say no, for being able to make decisions.
Yeah. I mean, I made terrible decisions while I was sober, but I
mean, that's what being said.
But because I joke about that. I made terrible decisions when I did drink and when I didn't in my 20s, because my 20s and my 30s are my 20s are crystal clear.
times.
Crystal clear. I remember details from my 20s that people are like, are you okay? That is weird. And then my 30s have a slight film, like a haze, that I'm just like, oh, I don't like that. And especially since I'm not sure if I'll have children, but if I do make a small gelatinous sack of beans and sand baby, I would like to be cogent and know what the heck's going on. I want clarity. I would hope
you would.
Yeah, I would hope so too. I mean, Raisin deserves that little frog dog that hasn't brought me a mustache yet.
More mustaches for Natalia.
Yeah,
every day. Yeah, but this was published in the journal Alcohol, and really,
my fave.
Just put it out there. It's alcohol. The researchers say the data provides clinically relevant information on the beneficial effects of sustained sobriety on human brain morphology and reinforces the adaptive effects of abstinence-based recovery. So,
yeah, that's interesting because there's a lot of harm reduction research now about not doing full abstinence. Because also, I do think harm reduction's preferred in many cases because it's hard. There's a lot of shame with 12 steps sometimes. Not the 12 steps is trying to shame you, but there's a lot of shame if you go out to come back, versus harm reduction where it's a little, there's a little bit more loosey-goosey, and it's not, you're not feeling like I have to start over now and,
Yeah. I mean, I think, what works for some people doesn't work for other people. And I'm glad that there are, we don't just say one size fits all. And if harm reduction allows people to make their way towards some kind of abstinence at some point, that's great. Or living just generally healthier lives, that's the best thing. So we want people to live and survive and have happy, fulfilling lives. And right.
Yeah.
Make
thrive.
It better. That's thrive.
Thrive. Yes. Not just here to survive, but to thrive.
I believe in this. I like this. And I hope that people enjoy coming to This Week in Science because we enjoy thriving.
Oh, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Natalia, thank you so much for joining me. This has just been wonderful. I mean, honestly, I feel like we could hang out and pun around all the time related to this kind of stuff. It was
the pun zone, man. We've been in it. We've been going hard.
We have been. hit those puns.
Oh yeah,
knocking them back.
Damn.
Oh, but anyway, okay. Before we go, I do want to make sure that everyone knows where they can find you, what you're, where you are, and where to look out for you these days.
Well, I'm in my little lady hut now outside because I'm not allowed in the house.
Nope.
No, I'm kidding. I you can find me on Instagram and on that X thing at Natalia13Reagan. I'm on TikTok at Behold Natalia. I have a bunch of comedy shows coming up in Los Angeles. So if you live in the area, please check out my Linktree. I've got a bunch of shows coming up and some virtual ones. And I'm actually leading a trip to Madagascar next May, and you're invited. So if you like anything that I had to say, or you find that my weirdness matches yours and you want to come to Madagascar and meet some lemurs, reach out to me. We're going next May. It's going to be a great time.
I feel like it would be like traveling with, what was the name of the king lemur from Madagascar?
King Julian.
King Julian. And you'd be,
yes.
Okay, this is great. We're going now. You go, we have a party. We have a dancing. Okay, now stop. Now it's sleeping time.
It's just like that. You guys, she just described it to a T. That's what we're doing. So come. There'll be
sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say there'll be chameleons there too. And,
You invited them?
I invited them. Yes. They work for scale. Sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I don't really give a flock. It sounds like an amazing, amazing adventure, and I hope that
you should come. You should come.
Like to come. It would be
you
amazing.
should please come. It's going to be fun. We wear mustaches. We dance with ring-tailed lemurs at midnight in the moonlight. It'll be so much fun.
and they will tell us things about their lives.
Yes. You know, they have stink fights. It will smell you later.
Oh, no. Oh.
Yes.
On that note, I do have to give a big shout out to people who help with the show as we end it all out. Thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. All of you in the chat rooms, thank you for being here, for watching the show, for adventuring with us through the last couple of hours. Those of you who are here live, you always make this journey so much better. Fada, thank you for your help with show notes and with social media. Identity4, thank you for recording the show. Gord, Arnlore, others who just there and make the chat rooms happy, nice places to be, not mean places. I really appreciate you being here. And Rachel, thank you for editing the show. Of course, as always, I need to thank our Patreon sponsors. So if you're ready for me to read the list, here we go. Thank you to Arthur Kepler, Craig Potts, Mary Gertz, Teresa Smith, Richard Badge, Bob Coles, Kent Northcote, Rick Loveman, George Corris, Pierre Velazarb, John Ratnaswamy, I gotta make that go away. Carl Kornfed, Chris Wozniak, Vegard Shefstad, Jonathan Stiles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, Ali Coffin, Reagan, Shu Brew, Sarah Forfar, Don Mundus, P.I.G., Stephen Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Stu Pollock, Andrew Swanson, Fred S104, Skylick, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Noodles, Jack, Brian Carrington, David E. Youngblood, Sean Clarence Lamb, John McKee, Rig Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Richard Brendan Minish, Johnny Gridley, Remy Day, G. Burton Lattimore, Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, RDM, Greg Briggs, John Atwood, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul Brick, Ramus, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, E.O., Adam Mishkon, Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Steve DeBell, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Disney, David Summerly, Patrick Pecoraro, and Tony Steele. Yeah! Thank you all for supporting us on Patreon. We really can't do this without you. And if anyone else out there wants to help support us on Patreon, head over to twist.org and click on that Patreon link. All right. On next week's show, it's pre-Thanksgiving. We'll see what's going on there. I don't know yet. But we should be back Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting live from our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch channels. Also, you can find information twist.org/live. I'm just going to keep reading this, Natalia, till we get to the end of the show, because it is a lot of words. You want to listen to us as a podcast? Look for us wherever you find your podcasts. This Week in Science. If you want more information on the show notes and links to stories, again, go to twist.org. You can also sign up for our newsletter that might come someday. You can also email us. You use the email addresses. Kirsten at thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, Blair at blairbaz@twist.org. Make sure you put TWIS in the subject line so that your email does not get spam filtered into a sea-driven extracellular vesicle that's slathered all over a sea monkey and takes off to Madagascar. We'll never get you there. You can also ping us on the social medias. I'm usually Dr. Kiki, maybe the Dr. Kiki. Justin is at Jacksonfly. Blair is Blair's Menagerie. We love your feedback. If there's a topic or a suggestion for another interview or another guest that you want us to bring on the show, let us know. We'll be back here again next week, and we hope that you will join us again for more great science news. And if you've learned anything from this show, remember, it's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.